Hello and welcome to this Bioprocess International Ask the Expert webcast. I'm your host, Leah Rosen, the online editor for Bioprocess International. Before we get started this morning, just a couple of notes. This webcast is being recorded and will be made available for replay in the multimedia section of our website. We've muted the audio lines, but we welcome you to type in your questions to our speaker in the chat window on your screen. After the presentation, we will begin the question and answer portion, because this is, after all, Ask the Expert, and I will ask our speaker your questions from the chat window. Your questions in the chat window will only be visible to myself and our speaker. Thank you for joining us today. It is now my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Beth DiPaolo from Eurofins Lancaster Laboratories.
Thank you, Leah, and hello everyone, and thank you for joining us today. Today we want to talk about some of the challenges that I'm sure you've faced, and given the polling question, I actually can see that you are here in the right room for this brief presentation. My name is Beth DiPaolo, and I'm the president of Eurofins Lancaster Laboratories Professional Scientific Staffing Services, and that's PSS, and that's an insourcing solution that we have to replace the challenges associated with the traditional models. Now, you all have a need to get your work done. As we all know, that work is done traditionally either by yourself or through outsourcing, through temporaries, or through insourcing. And this presentation is about insourcing. But we're going to talk about each one and the challenges that you may face with each one. With regard to, there we go. We all know the traditional outsourcing for lab practices. We are part of Eurofins Lancaster Laboratories, have been in business now 55 years providing analytical lab services, one of the largest single locations in the world with over 330,000 square feet. And we have state-of-the-art laboratories and HR best practices right here. But what we found with the insourcing, it doesn't always serve our clients well for that work to go outsourced. Sometimes the clients prefer insourcing, either due to turnaround time, the need for scientific collaboration, or the utilization of the space that they may have, or either scientific sensitivities that they prefer to keep in-house. And again, another option is the traditional staffing model with temps. And obviously they serve a great purpose. There's a benefit for temps because you might have a maternity leave or a medical leave that is short in duration that needs coverage. But what we found from client feedback is that there are several limitations associated with temporaries, either in the U.S. or in Europe because of fixed duration contracts. Difficult to find qualified people, difficult to get them trained, which means your resources are burdened with that training. In a GMP environment, it takes about 3 months. And then, as I just mentioned, term limits. Now, in the U.S., there's no official legal term limit to a temp, but many clients have risk mitigation, so they create limits because they're worried about co-employment issues. So some of our clients have 6 months, 11 months, 12 months, 18 months, or up to 2 years. But at that point, that person needs to leave, and now they need to start all over again. So that creates a lot of issues with regard to retaining staff and motivating staff. And if these temporaries are any good, they might prematurely leave. So there's a constant churn and a burden related to the resources that you have. How PSS was born. Professional Scientific Services was born 14 years ago at our client's request. Because they weren't getting their needs met, they had restricted headcount, and they needed work done, so they needed another solution. So our clients actually asked us to start this model because they saw that we had great full-time people that were dedicated to us, very good technical expertise, and great HR best practices that we were using. So we've now just reversed the service model, and we now bring to our client teams that we run these services. They're full-time. They receive technical training and client service training and leadership training, core training on ethics and quality and performance management, all with the understanding that they're going to be highly engaged to serve our clients. Co-employment is a very big piece that you need to understand, and this is not just in the U.S. This is a global thing. It depends on the actual laws, though. For example, in Europe, there's the EU Temporary Agency Worker Directive, which sort of falls under this issue as well. But what co-employment means is a person who is co-employed is managed and employed, if you will, by two parties, either the temporary service provider and also the client. So when you have a temporary, you are co-employing that temporary. With Eurofins Lancaster Labs PSS, we make sure we don't co-employ. So we actually manage the employee. We have total supervisory control. All of our employees are full-time on our benefits. We are hiring them, orienting them, and leading them to make sure they understand they're serving our clients. They're not managed by our clients. And all operational HR decisions are handled by us. We put a very strong emphasis on identification to try to mitigate any risk, and we facilitate the training process, and we are so confident in our capabilities here that we indemnify our clients so that there's no risk associated with co-employment. Now, the role of the leader is a critical success factor for co-employment. So, for example, because we have to have on-site leadership, most times with these teams, these leaders are working scientific leaders, where they're actually contributing scientifically, but they're also recruiting and training and overchecking data or scheduling work to make sure that these people are utilized in a manner to best serve our clients. They have supervisory control, but they're also a liaison with the client. We proactively measure metrics, which is part of the whole maximizing productivity, and we make sure that we ensure we exceed our clients' expectations that way. We work together with the leaders to ensure that they're trained and qualified to make sure that they're best able to hire, train, and engage the people that we have. So many of the tools that we have, for example, reward and recognition, are set up to actually provide that. My clients use an insourcing model. Well, they essentially have high turnover with temps, or they can't get their own headcount. There's co-employment issues with regard to their temporary, so there's a limit of time. And if you use a temporary service agency, and they do serve a great purpose, they're not a laboratory. So when you use an insourcing resource, that person or that service is bringing towards you all the regulatory expertise, the technical expertise, leaning the labs, et cetera. And many of our clients feel that this model is cost beneficial because we can stay and engage in the client environment for long periods of time without that risk. We currently serve our clients throughout Europe and US. We actually have the capabilities as being part of Eurofins to actually go global. Many of our clients have engaged us for Singapore, South America, but the Eurofins network is in 39 countries. But right now, we've partnered with our BBT Laboratories, the harmonized GMP global network in the world. It's the largest one. So if you look at this map, you can see the circles are all examples of teams that we currently have serving our clients. Many of our clients are global, so we might serve them in many countries. We actually have cross-utilized resources, cross-training, and move people to actually help share or expand knowledge to best serve the client. So if you can see here in Europe, Spain, Italy, Germany, Belgium, France, UK, Ireland, Denmark, Scandinavia, Germany. So as you can see, we're serving 13 countries currently. And our services are, we have our core technical capabilities in our laboratories, and we can expand that into client environments. So we do early phase development all the way up to finished product testing, both large and small molecule. So these are just a lot of the different areas, even beyond what our core capabilities are in our labs. So genomics, bioinformatics, medical device testing, process development, facility validation, cleaning validation, characterization, method development and validation. And many times our clients say, okay, we actually need you to come in and we need you to set up the lab. So we actually have clients that have empty shells, and we need to either reactivate a laboratory or from scratch qualify and validate equipment and lean the labs. So we have a lot of experience in knowing how to run labs and set up labs, so we bring that expertise to our clients. So critical success factors currently for insourcing. Obviously, you want to make sure when you're shopping, if this is an interest for you, that the provider is very strong technically. They understand the nature of the work that you're doing and the regulatory aspects of that work. You want to make sure that they understand the importance of engaging people. This is a people model, if you will. It's a service model, so we want to make sure we can find great people and take great care of them. So HR best practice is a very big piece and critical success factor. And also the technical training. We have many clients that say, oh, it's such a burden to deal with the training. We definitely take care of that through the training modules that we have. This is an onboarding slide that we have taken from our orientation. We educate our employees this way in saying that your leaders are here to serve you. You're the foundation of our building, and our leaders are the earth that support you. We can't have any cracks in that foundation. We need to live our 4 values of superlative client service, quality, productivity, and teamwork, ultimately so that we can take care of our clients, which is the roof over our heads. Clients engage in this project because it is a paradigm shift. We have to sit down and think culturally, what is the situation? What kind of culture are we entering into? What are the rules and the expectations? What are the metrics that we need to form? What communication needs to happen with their teams? what education needs to happen with their team. So we actually have an implementation process that we go through. Recruiting is a very big, important piece of this. We currently strive for a 30-day turnaround time with all of our recruitment practices. We do a very proactive approach to make sure that we're meeting that expectation. We do consider people if they have existing temps, and we have lots of experience where you convert over people who are on limited term contracts in Europe or temporaries where the client just says we're getting out of the temporary service model for this. Many clients, when they make that decision, say, you know what, we definitely need this work in-house, and it's been happening for years, so let's just use a model that's more effective. So we do job fairs and invite people in for consideration, and then consider those obviously participating with the client feedback if they're able. Training is a very key, important part of this. We currently have a Lancaster Labs University on site, and in Europe we actually are designing and delivering training at all of our locations as well. We currently have over 100 training modules that we provide to our clients, to our employees to ultimately serve our clients. We design training plans so that our employees know, okay, this person needs an expertise in Empower. So what can we do to enhance that beyond what the client might be required to provide in training? Because traditionally we are working under a client's quality system, and under that quality system there is required training. This is above that. This is to enhance that whole process. We actually become trained as trainers in client quality systems so we can take that burden away from the client. Always encourage our clients to think about, and this is where the productivity and value comes in, what can we do to measure to ensure that we are exceeding your expectations and that you're getting the value that you expect from this model? In our services agreement, we have a template that includes turnaround time, quality, safety, training records, whatever is of value. We actually measure and report in a governance, normally quarterly, to our clients, and then make sure we are exceeding those expectations. One example of that, sort of difficult I know for you to see, but visually what this is the name on the left of all the skills that are necessary to serve the client, so HPLC, UV, titration, whatever is dissolution, whatever the skills are necessary are on the left, and at the top are the initials. So we actually are proactive in cross-training to ensure we can maximize productivity and we can ensure flexibility for the service. We also have a management operating system which overlays the client's forecast to what our resources are, and if we're proactive in flexing and proactive in training, we can maximize the productivity of our teams, which actually reduces the cost to the client. Our HR best practices include not only getting people onboarded, but reward and recognition, celebrations, proactive career development and progression. These are actual photos of our employees celebrating, either recognizing them for delighting our clients or celebrating the success of the teams. Thinking of a model, you need to think about, well, how do I ensure that I get the highest quality? This model actually achieves that goal through ensuring that we can attract and retain a higher caliber person. And because these are full-time jobs of Eurofins, we actually are able to attract, and we look for people who want a career with us, not just a job with us. In addition, we are very strong on quality. It is a core competency, so the GMP, GLP, ISO 17225, whatever the client needs, we are very well versed in, and we ensure we exceed those expectations. We maximize our productivity through cross-training and cross-utilization, but we also make sure we retain people, and we have a very good success record in doing that, which actually also maximizes productivity. Here is just an example if you're looking at how do you compare value and measure that. The first column is PSS, which is the model that we're talking about, insourcing, and then you have temporary workers on the second column. Let's assume you have a team of 10. Let's assume it's 3 months to train them in a GMP environment, for example, and let's assume that you're going to have 100% turnover because you're only allowed to keep a temp for 1 year, where in the PSS model, you can keep them for as long as there's a need. So here we have a 10% turnover. Let's say one person leaves a year. Now we're utilizing that team 9.75 after the first year because now they're through that training and fully utilized. Where in the second model, you're always in that constant churn, and this does not include the burden of your resources to train them. Paying for 10, but only getting the value of 6.25 of this model. This translates to increased savings for the client. Many of our clients say that it's either cost neutral or cost beneficial. If they compare to their resources, it's certainly cost beneficial. And in the first year, it might be cost neutral or more expensive than temps, but over time, that actually goes down based on the retention. We've been recognized now 9 times in the last 8 years for being a strategic partner with our clients for PSS. We're the only insourcing solution in the industry that has received such designation, and we've never lost a project due to dissatisfaction. So it's important when you're out shopping to make sure that you ask those kinds of questions, because you want to make sure that you have a vendor that you can trust and really align for strategically longer term. Thank you for your time today and welcome your questions.
Thank you, Beth. So how many people do you need to insource for the PSS model to work?
Thank you, Leah. Yes, a minimum of 2. So we have projects, and only a few that are that small, because one person needs to be the leader. We have also current projects that are over 200. So we're able to do the range between 2 and over 200.
And is there a limit of time that a team can stay on the client site?
As long as there is a need, if there's a business need, this is a flexible model, so the client has flexibility to secure their resources. So we write a master services agreement with the understanding, however long the client prefers, 3 years, 5 years. We have some that go all the way up to 10 years. There is a cancellation clause in that, so if the sky falls, there's a way in which to manage this effectively for that flexibility. But we have clients that have been with us from the beginning, 14 years, and we're still serving them continuously for that time.
Okay, so what if I don't like the performance of an individual on the team? How's that handled?
Thank you. A lot of our clients get concerned with the paradigm shift of this model because they say, oh gosh, am I going to lose control? And we say, no, you have ultimate control without the work. We do that for you. So you are our client and we are providing a service, and we make sure that we proactively ask you, how are we doing? Are you satisfied? What is working well? What could be improved upon? In that mechanism, you then would share your concerns in the service. Then we would immediately do follow-up to remedy that situation. We do have a just cause progressive disciplinary process. Our intention is to solve it as quickly as possible. And we've never had a complaint from our clients that we didn't do that well.
And what value does PSS bring compared to other temp services?
We're not a temp service, and we don't really compete in the temp service, but there are other insourcing providers that we compete with, and in those scenarios, those people actually, or those vendors, we've had a few occasions where we've actually been asked by the client to actually assume those projects because the client wasn't satisfied with other vendors, and I think it came down to this. They didn't effectively find great people nor take care of them. They didn't have effective leadership on site. Some of our competitors say, you know what, that's not really necessary, and there's a cost associated with that. So that's actually failed projects. And the other thing is the actual training and development in HR best practices, in addition to our laboratory expertise. So they're the 3 main differentiators for us.
And how do you measure the value of these services?
Well, we actually encourage our clients to measure the value because we want to show that we're exceeding their expectations. So we actually are proactively soliciting the ideas and helping them come up and form metrics together. Some of the R&D environments we're in, our clients don't have really solid metrics. So we actually encourage them and share our best practices in other areas. Once we agree upon those metrics, be it quality, first time passed, it could be the project management time, making sure when you do a data review for, let's say, a submittal for a validation, how many errors were in that. These are all the different types of metrics that we can actually track and report on, and we're really pleased to do that because we like to exceed our clients' expectations. So we recommend that we measure that monthly and then report on that in a governance fashion quarterly.
And what is the key to making the PSS model work?
Well, it is a paradigm shift, and one of the things we do when we go in and introduce this model to our clients is that, this is not a staffing model. This is an insourcing service model. So we really need the client to do a paradigm shift. And we actually have client education training that we can do to help them with that paradigm shift. Because if they try to insert the traditional way in which they dealt with temps, this won't work. So it's really strategic partnership with the client, really good scientific collaboration and operational collaboration, and also strategic in the thinking of, okay, we're moving and we're going to trust you to do this for us. And once the client feels comfortable relinquishing that trust or allowing that trust to occur, it actually has really flourished. So we've had groups that started that were 2 and now are over 200 because the client is seeing the value. What the client normally does is they say, you know what, we only have limited resources, we need to get this work done. We need you to come in and do this so we can free up our own resources to do this other work. So we're actually seen in a positive light by their employees because we're here to make their lives easier. So I think if we position it correctly and communicate correctly to their employees so that it's not a threat to them, it's an important piece that we do in the implementation. So overall, we really feel that the success of this is our strategic client collaboration.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Beth, and thank you all for attending. If you have follow-up questions, you can email Beth at the email address on the screen, and we will be sending a link to the online recorded version. Thank you.
I hope this was of value to everyone. Thank you very much for attending. Have a great day.